Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers and sovereign thinkers. This is LL3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful Beehive State, which is also known as Utah. And today's date, Sunday, September 20th, 2015. Yep, just decided to do another episode, and I'd like to thank a lot of folks for listening to our last one on the Felix Cancer Treatment Fund. It was nice. Even the family did thank me for putting that out. And I think it's really nice. And all the families are listening to it. Hopefully it'll send that message, spread it across the world. So, yeah, it's a little bit mellow right now in the 60s in Roy. So it's comfortable to sleep at. And I decided to do another show. Go, why not? It'll be, talk about 4 segments. And first one, actually, will come from truthalerts.com. Because we want to talk about Pope Francis is in the Western Hemisphere. Is supposed to be hitting the United States this week to talk to the people in the House of Representatives and the Senate and all that. And maybe President Barack Obama. And to inform us how should we handle things. So, a lot of controversy with this fellow. Everyone say he was the first Jesuit pope. Based on his rhetoric from past articles, in good faith, I am pretty well convinced myself. And it's not here to go after the Roman Catholic disciples as a whole, but every institution, movement, entity, you always have to be aware or remain vigilant when it comes to infiltrators, plants, or provocateurs. So, I want to be reading this from truthalerts.com. It is entitled Vatican Flag to Fly Over New World Order. And it's written by Leo Leon Sagami. And as it reads here, the truth about Pope Francis and his communist ties. Pope Francis departed for Cuba September 19th on the Italia Airbus A33-200 Kristen Raffaello Sanzio at 10:35 a.m. from Feliciano Airport. The Jesuit legacy is strong in Cuba. Father Antonio Lorente, a friend of the late Pope Bergoglio, who died in 2010, was actually Fidel Castro's teacher and spiritual advisor at the prestigious Jesuit preparatory school Colegio del Belen in Havana, which was also frequented by his brother Raul Castro, Cuba's current leader. A few years back, when Fidel retired because of health problems, Raul gradually took over as president of the Council of Ministers of Cuba and later commander and first secretary of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Cuba, which is PCC. These content links are provided by content.ad. Both content.ad and the website upon which links are displayed may receive compensation when readers click on these links. Sorry about that. That's just an ad. Forgive me there, my friends. Raul was literally brought up by the Jesuits, attending the Jesuit school of Colegio Dolores in Santiago, and later the Colegio Belen mentioned above, before becoming a first-time communist engaged in numerous allegiance operations with the Soviet Union. The role the Jesuits play in the formation of Raul and their ties to the mysterious and powerful Company of Jesus, which helped craft communism, is extremely clear. Also to consider is the recent role of the Vatican Jesuits in reestablishing Cuba's relations with the U.S. Jim Yardley writes in the New York Times, the rapprochement between the U.S. and Cuba was facilitated by Argentine-born Pope Francis, who allowed the Vatican to be used for secret negotiations. There were stimulus public announcements by Castro and Obama about the progress toward normalization. Who are the Jesuits and who is Pope Francis, really? The propaganda machine is already in motion, and the media announced that Obama and Raul had a phone conversation in the last few hours declaring how essential Pope Francis is in helping these two countries unite in friendship once again. The Vatican Secretary of State, Cardinal Parolin, stated the role of the Pope was determinant because it was he who decided to write to both the two presidents to find a way to overcome the present difficulties. This is why Cuba and the United States decided to reestablish their diplomatic relations to coincide with the birthday of Pope Francis last December. After meeting Pope Francis in Vatican City on May 10th, Raul Castro not only said that he is considering returning to the Roman Catholic Church, but he even stated in the televised news conference, "I read all the speeches of the Pope, his commentaries, and if the Pope continues this way, I will go back to praying and go back to the Church. I am not joking." Adding that on the occasion that the Pope arrives, I promise to go all to his masses and with satisfaction. Pope Francis is the third Pope to visit the Caribbean island. Before him, Pope John Paul II, January 1998, and Benedict XVI, March 2012. The motto chosen for the current visit is Misericordia de la Misericordia, referring to the Jubilee of Mercy to take place from December 2015. This is the time Rome will be invaded by millions of pilgrims, and ISIS may attempt to let loose with the planned X hour for the attack on Rome. Barack Obama and Raul Castro's mondialist leftist agenda is guided and supervised by the first Jesuit Pope in history to help the Cuban embraces the new world order with enthusiasm, in time rejecting the close ties establishing during the Cold War with the Russian Federation, something that they may regret in years to come. In the meantime, the Vatican is facilitating the chaos in Europe thanks to the constant support for immigration given by Pope Francis and the Vatican. Just before departing for Cuba, the Vatican pulled another propaganda stunt, airing a Pope Francis meeting in Rome with the Syrian family they are hosting in the Vatican at the Santa Anna Church. One of the two privileged families the Vatican recently announced they will host within their small territory to demonstrate to the world how much they care. But do they really care? In the last few years, the Catholic Church has demonstrated that their only interest for immigrants and refugees in difficulty in Italy and other European countries is of an economic nature. The Vatican and many Catholic organizations simply build and control refugee centers as a way to generate money taken from the European Union and other institutions connected with the immigrant crisis. The Italian press reported that some unfortunate cases, members of the clergy abused immigrants, treating them as slaves or even worse, as sexual toys for their perversion. Pretty interesting there. I'm going to have to look at it a little further. Since February 2014, the Holy See has been put under extreme pressure by the United Nations in regards to too many crimes against minors committed by the clergy worldwide. The UN report by Kristen Sandberg, who chairs the UN Committee on the Rights of the Child, announced the committee is gravely concerned that the Holy See has not acknowledged the extent of the crimes committed, has not taken the necessary measures to address cases of sexual child abuse to protect children, and has adapted policies and practices which have led to the continuation of the abuse by and the impunity of the perpetrators. Regardless of the concern aired by the UN committee member on the morning of September 25th, 2015, for the first time in history due to a last-minute law, the UN passed on September 10th, the Vatican flag will be raised on the United Nations building in Pope Francis's honor. Interesting there. We have to wait and see when they do put the Vatican flag up over the UN, which a lot of us are pretty familiar how the one world order operates, and the Vatican is part of that network, in that umbrella, I would say, to the New World Order. What's really going to be interesting is how far the people will jump on this, praise this man, and supports a one world government with his rhetoric. We're going to find out what kind of mind control schemes which the Pope Francis and the Vatican, plus the members of the UN, are going to have people manifest over this. And there's even claims that a lot of our presidents were Jesuit trained, including President Barack Obama. You might have to just do a little homework. I recommend Fair Dinkum Radio and look up the episode Jesuit trained politicians or presidents. I don't know on the top of my head, but if not, I'll try to add that to my footnotes. If not, definitely look that up, because it was very interesting. This woman did, one person that spoke was very well articulate. And when you see these when you understand the patterns, you know the enemy, it's like right in your face, and you could just laugh at it. It's like a bad Halloween costume, I would say. All thing I could tell everyone out there, just prepare yourselves for these outcomes. And even with the so-called, even talk about the attack on Rome, because there was a claim too with Nostradamus talking about the last pope leaving Rome, would be leaving Rome, and all hell broke loose. This might be part of their plan as well. And it's just these claims. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but these are these claims. But we just got to be really alert. But I am convinced, in good faith, that Pope Francis is just another bellboy to the one world government. And if people get offended by it, I'm not here to hurt you or get you mad, just to make you think. But if you want to prove me wrong, have a memorable discussion. Bring information out there. I'm not considered a conspiracy theorist, but I observe things a lot broader at the best of my ability. So this is why it's got to pay attention on the 25th. Because it may be tribulation, they say in the Bible. But like I said, nothing set in stone. But we just got to be alert. Know your enemy. And you'll be a lot more thorough and achieve spiritually when you do. It's just my personal intake on this. But I'll try to get that Fair Dinkum Radio link on there about Jesuit trained, okay? So I'll see what I can do. Alright. Next one here. Found this out. I found this out today. What was it? Florida Carey sent this on Facebook, and I find this pretty cool. It says here, it's from Fox13now.com. It's entitled, "The Utah Supreme Court Says You Don't Have to Take a Bullet for Your Company." Salt Lake City, and it's a town called Layton, to be exact, which is south from where I'm at in Roy. It's entitled here, "In the split ruling, the Utah Supreme Court sided with the group of Walmart workers who were fired for exercising self-defense when confronting an unarmed shoplifter. The case stemmed from an incident in January 2011 when 6 workers were fired after they fought with a shoplifter who pulled a gun on them inside the Layton Walmart. The company had claimed the employees violated policy of disengaging, withdrawing, and alerting authorities." Okay, the company claimed the employees violated Walmart's policy of disengaging, withdrawing, and alerting authorities. Okay, well, we'll continue on here. During a hearing last year, Utah Supreme Court Justice Christine Durham bluntly asked if an employer should be able to fire somebody for refusing to take a bullet for the company. In the opinion handed down on Friday, the state's top court ruled that Utah law reflects a policy favoring the right of self-defense, and that a policy is of sufficient magnitude to qualify as a substantial public policy exception. to the at-will employment doctrine, but only under narrow circumstances where an employee cannot withdraw and face imminent serious bodily injury. And this is section 20. It says here in the conclusion, from the ruling, we conclude with the U.S. law, with the Utah law, recognizes a policy favoring the right of self-defense, and that that policy is a kind of clear and substantial public policy that qualifies as an exception to the at-will employment doctrine. Accordingly, an at-will employee who is fired for exercising the right may maintain a wrongful termination action, but only if the employee faced an imminent threat of serious bodily harm in circumstances where he or she was unable to withdraw. We so hold because 1. The Utah law strongly supports the right of self-defense while recognizing circumstances in which a person may have a duty to withdraw. 2. A policy favoring the right of self-defense is also of broad public importance because it protects human life while deterring crime. And 3, despite the strong interest employers have in maintaining a safe workplace through de-escalation policies, the rights of individuals to defend themselves against imminent bodily injury or death is simply more compelling where the employee cannot safely withdraw. We therefore answer the certified question in the affirmative. Wow. Interesting. I like that one a lot. And it says here, the case could have a significant impact statewide. In a statement to Fox 13, Walmart said it disagreed with the ruling. Our number one concern is always the safety of our customers and associates. We don't condone behavior that puts them at risk. We respectfully disagree with the court's decision and will review our options. We believe this sets a bad precedent for businesses and customers they serve, the company said. Well, I have to say this. I do, in good faith, I have to agree with the justice's decision, because self-defense is a enumerated right. It is even guaranteed in the Utah Constitution, Article 1, if I'm correct. And you can just look it up yourselves. Don't be too shy. All right, it's one of the enumerated rights. I think they have inherited too, but I'm going to look into that. But one thing I'm happy about, because another thing as well. Okay, the police aren't obligated to protect you as an individual. And here's another thing. If they just sit there and play dead and go, okay, boss, put their hands up like the Oprah Winfrey self-defense technique, if people get taken out, Walmart's going to get sued. What are these people, what are these idiots thinking? That's why I always tell folks, Walmart to me is nothing more than one disgusting outhouse. People who shop there overall, I just have I just find it discouraging. I just go, why want to shop at that dump? I have to say that to my own family members. I say it out of love, and it's just not trying to be contemptuous, but it's principle. And this is just an example that Walmart is anti-self-defense. And you know what? All those people who are pro-self-defense need to let Walmart know you need us more we need you. This is for to the people across this country and beyond. If you're pro-self-defense, tell Walmart to stick it. You want to see them go under? That's how you do it. Instead of complaining about it's cheap and bickering, you would go there and they treat you like garbage or treat you like numbers. Why? No one put a gun to your head to go there. So I commend these employees who got fired. They did their homework and they challenged it and won. Not just for the other workers in that facility, but when it comes to the right of self-defense. they sent a huge message to one big mega corporation. If Walmart can't handle it, I say shut them all down. Don't even take your business somewhere else because you're contaminating space. That's how I look at them. And they know the truth really hurts. All right. Next one here came from UnitedVoice.com. It came out a couple of days ago, if I'm correct. This is titled Passports for Domestic Flights Needed in these 5 states Soon. Author listed below, and I will say that, and I will address that after I do my address here. And as it reads, to comply with the 2005 Real ID Act, which the U.S. government has been slowly implementing for the past decade, citizens in a number of different U.S. states will be forced to obtain a passport if they want to aboard an airplane for even domestic flights. Department of Homeland Security and representatives with the U.S. Customs and Border Protection have declined to comment on why certain states have been singled out. But starting in 2016, residents of New York, Wisconsin, Louisiana, Minnesota, New Hampshire, and American Samoa will need a passport to fly domestically. All other states will still be able to use their state-issued licenses and IDs for now, at least, because they're part of that Real ID program, which I think the state of Florida and many others should do the 10th Amendment stance and give Homeland Security the middle finger. But I will continue on here. According to the Department of Homeland Security's guidelines on enforcement of the Real ID Act, the Department of Homeland Security announced on December 20th, 2013, a phased enforcement plan for the Real ID Act as passed by Congress that will implement the act in a measured, fair, and responsible way. Oh yeah, what a pipe dream. And that actually, it was passed through the Military Appropriations Act. That Real ID language was in there. And a lot of people from Congress on both sides vote on it without really looking at that area. And of course, our so-called Lord and Savior, Jorge Walker Bush, signed it because he's nothing more than a bend-over Bob to the New World Order. And I don't give a damn what party he's in, okay? And now we'll proceed. Secure driver's licenses and identification documents are a vital component of our national security framework. The Real ID Act, passed by Congress in 2005, enacted the 9/11 Commission's recommendation that the federal government set standards for the issuance of sources of identification such as driver's licenses, and Mao Tse-tung will be extremely proud. The Act established minimum security standards for license issuance and production and prohibits federal agencies from accepting for certain purposes driver's licenses and identification cards from states not meeting the Act's minimum standards. So how does a federal law supersede state law? It's a farce. Remember that. So, and I will continue on here. The purpose covered by the Act are accessing the federal facilities, entering nuclear power plants, and no sooner than 2016, broadening federally regulated commercial aircraft. Yes, the tyrannical way. States and other jurisdictions have made significant progress in enhancing the security of their licenses over the last number of years. As a result, approximately 78% of all U.S. drivers hold license from jurisdictions determined to meet the Act's standards, or 2, to have received extensions. Individuals holding driver's licenses or identification cards from these jurisdictions may continue to use them as before. Individuals holding licenses from non-compliant jurisdictions will need to follow alternative access control procedures for purposes covered by the Act. As described below, enforcement for broadening aircraft will occur no sooner than 2016. According to the fine print, not all 50 states have driver's licenses that meet RID requirements, which could possibly explain why the aforementioned regions will not qualify in 2016. However, there is no specific mention of what the requirements actually are. The Real ID Act has been controversial since its initial proposal over 10 years ago, and it is seen by many as a massive violation of privacy. One of the primary reasons it has taken the government so long to roll this program out is that the program is wildly unpopular and creates heavy backlash every time it appears in the news. The tightening of the Real ID restrictions are seemingly intended to push people towards attain newly issued enhanced IDs, which adds more unnecessary paperwork and bureaucracy to the already tedious process involved in identification applications. It's by John Vibes, by the way, from the antimedia.org. And of course, under permission. And it was actually permission under Creative Commons. And like I said before, and this is my dumb ass mistake. I went through this little program, and what was so funny, because it's so funny about it, is that when I had an uncertified birth certificate, okay? Because and this, I had a certified birth certificate. And this is fun because I was in a driver's license database since 1984. And I was doing this around, I think it was 2010. So I asked him this. I'm like, you're telling me I'm a 42-year-old illegal alien from Brooklyn, New York? I'm like, I was in their database for all these years. I got to go through this whole debacle. And I should have taken the initiative of telling them to wipe my ass on that driver's license and just give it to them. That's how I felt. But it's one of those things I should have done. However, that was my error, and I do admit it. I make my mistakes as well. I do have to select my battles, but you never know. One day I might just tell them to take a dump on it anyway. But what's really interesting is that the other states, like New Hampshire, says no way, and I commend that. And I don't know why the airline industry is not taking the initiative on telling them, no, we're not going to support this program. What are you going to do? Shut them all down? You're going to have, how about the business aspect of it? All right? It may have a chance of hurting them financially. And what's going to happen? Homeland Security is going to run the airlines. Homeland Security Airlines. Well, we say 1984, Big Brother is the only way to have to show true patriotism. So, this is why I know a member as well in the state of Florida. Someone tried to get that off the program with the Real ID Act, but got shot down through the committee, which is a total shame. So I would say this: if every state in the union starts reconsidering on getting out of the Real ID Act program, what's going to happen? The feds will be worried. Okay? They will be really worried, and that would actually destroy the program. The 10th Amendment is the only way of solving this tyrannical platform. And like I said, I made that error, and I admit it. But doesn't mean I can still fight it. I can, and I'm letting everyone know, do support a 10th Amendment cause. And this is how I see it. And 10th Amendment Center has a lot of great information on that as well, so definitely check them out. But this is not more than a privilege, okay? Like doing business with the airline industry, and you have some bureaucrat going, oh, well, you have to have a Real ID Act. Yeah, they're the same clowns that told all the pilots before 9/11, we know better than you how to defend the plane, but don't worry, we'll protect you. Same debacle, propaganda, Matrix 101. And this is how I look at it. Everyone needs to exercise the 10th Amendment duties. Because they need us once again. More we need them. Alright. Like I said, I'll repent on my actions. But to me, I'm not a big fan of going on the airline, going on the plane anyway. Just I'm tired of I went one time, too many headaches, so that's where I stand on it. Only if I really have to. But I know. But one thing about me, when I go to these areas, talk to TS agents, I talk about freedom and love and and natural born rights. Like, they can never take that away from you. You were born with them. You talk to your kids as well. And they just give me a look like, okay. All right. Finally, This is actually a viewpoint, and it was written by John R. Lott Jr. from OCRegister.com. It was entitled "Gun-Free Zones Are Magnets for Murderers." And let me address what he said. As it reads, would you post a sign announcing that your home is a gun-free zone? Would you feel safer? Criminals don't obey these signs. In fact, to criminals, gun-free zones look like easy targets. So, do we put up these signs in other places? The California Senate recently voted to ban holders of concealed handgun permits from carrying guns on schools or university property. Gun control advocates can't point to any problems with permit holders carrying guns in those places, but it hasn't stopped them from pushing a new law. Since at least 1950, all but 2 public mass shootings in America have taken place where general citizens are banned from carrying guns. In Europe, there have been no exceptions. Every mass public shooting has occurred in a gun-free zone, and Europe is no stranger to mass shootings. It has been host to 3 of the 6 worst K-12 school shootings, and by far the worst mass public school shootings perpetrated by a single individual. With dozens of cases while permit holders have clearly stopped what would have been mass public shootings, it's understandable that killers avoid places where they can't kill a large number of people. What might be surprising is how killers often openly talk about their desire to attack where guns are banned. The Charleston killer's first choice was to target a college of Charleston, but he chose the church instead because there were armed guards at the college. Just a few months ago, the diary of Aurora, Colorado Batman movie theater killer James Holmes was finally released. He was considering both attacking an airport and a movie theater, but he turned down the airport option because he was concerned about their substantial security. Out of 7 theaters showing Batman movie premiere within 20 minutes of the suspect's apartment, only 1 banned permitted concealed handguns, and that is the one he attacked. In late 2013, Ron Noble, the General Secretary of Interpol, noted 2 means of protecting people from mass shootings. One is to say, we want an armed citizenry. You can see the reason for that. Another is to say the enclaves should be so secure that in order to get into the soft target, you're going to have to pass through extraordinary security. But Noble warned that this experience taught him it was virtually impossible to stop killers from getting weapons. Those advocating gun-free zones raise a number of concerns. They argue that permit holders will accidentally shoot bystanders. On that arriving, police will shoot anyone with a gun, including permit holders. At colleges, fears are raised that students will get drunk and misuse guns. Out of the innumerable cases in which concealed carry holders have stopped shootings in malls, churches, schools, universities, and busy downtowns, no permit holder has ever shot a bystander. Nor in these cases have the police ever accidentally shot a permit holder. Gun-free zones are magnets for murderers. Even the most adherent gun control advocate will never put gun-free zone signs on their homes. Let's finally stop putting them elsewhere. John R. Lott is the president of the Crime Prevention Research Center and the author of More Guns, Less Crime. I have to agree with Mr. Lott on this for sure. And if you hear my shows in the past, even my archive, I talk about why gun-free zones are criminal invitation facilities. Go to more other examples we can address. Columbine, Virginia Tech, even some of the military bases. And 9/11, the airplanes in 9/11. even though I said the New World Order agenda, but they were considered firearm-free zones as well in the airplanes. I can go on. Self-defense is everyone's moral obligation. And people say, "Oh, well, we need trained. That's why we have trained police officers." It doesn't matter. They're, like I said, they are a lot of the police in this country. They go under the state statutes of sovereign immunity and liability and tort liability, or liability torts, something like that. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna definitely add that, okay, with the sovereign immunity tort on this on my footnotes, so you can look at all the statutes and take from each state and territory, and you could do your own research. But this is like I said before, this is very, has to be done, and all those so-called gun-free zone nuts that, well, we're gonna have a gun-free zone, make us feel safe. You know what? A lot of these folks gotta stop living in La La Land. And the reason why I didn't have Sandy Hook to it, probably Sandy Hook Elementary School was a gun-free zone, but based on the FBI reports, there was zero murders reported in that town of Newton, so that's why I excluded that from my intake. But definitely, people should take the initiative on learning the tools of self-defense. Not just a firearm, but any other methods. But always use the firearms as when it's really necessary. Like I've told people before, a great example was the St. James Church Massacre. 5 bullets saved over 900 lives. That's the St. James Church Massacre, which Charles Van Wyck did a book called Shooting Back. But you could, like I said, there's plenty of information out there. You can look it up yourselves, and I'm not gonna make this up. But it is essential that everyone should have to take the initiative on defending themselves. Hey, some people, it takes time. So you gotta be patient, because there's people I know are learning to shoot, and they tell me some of their errors, and I always give them an honorable statement on what not to do in the future. And I'm not going around here playing Rambo or anything like that. I'm just being more of an honorable individual, because I care about my families, my friends, and protect innocent bystanders when I have to. And everyone out there needs to do the same, not just in the United States, but around the world. Don't let these political hacks and these tyrannical Uncle Toms or Aunt Jemimas, ethically speaking, that don't believe in self-defense. You have to start ridiculing them. But their rank and file, start giving them honorable information, honorable discussions. Be like preachers and rabbis. I've been doing this for a long time, so I can say that firsthand. And this is all I'm gonna say. So, everyone, thank you for listening to this episode. So please feel free to download and share this throughout your social media network. If you have any comments, criticisms, love letters, hate letters, recommendations, or send me information that may be interesting, all your comments and so forth, please use it with decorum. You can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, send your comments to iHeartRadio, or on YouTube. In addition, you can email me at LokiLuck3@gmail.com. Once again, thank you for your time. And always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves, keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.